Hey everyone, Aaron here with Elite Water Sports, and this video is all about how to jump higher while you're kiteboarding. So stay tuned and learn some stuff I guarantee you didn't know. Hey everyone, Aaron here with Elite Water Sports, and this past week I had a special guest, a guy that has been kiteboarding for years and years and years, and he actually originally learned from me. And guess what? He wanted to learn how to jump higher, right? And that's the age-old question, and that's why we do progression sessions here at Elite Water Sports. So I broke it down a little differently. We had a really nice briefing up on the beach instead of doing improv out in the water and seeing what happens, all right? We want to have structure with it. Number one, right? Number one is upwind angle. Most people don't talk about it, okay? Speed. Speed is number two. And number three is gear and setting expectations, right? All of this needs to happen in unison for the biggest jump ever. Number one is the very most important. If you don't have that, this doesn't matter. Speed and gear does not matter. If you don't have number one, you are not going to go as high as you think. So stay tuned and I'm gonna break down each one of these for you. And just remember, it starts here, number one. All right, number one, what do I mean by the upwind angle, okay? Let's break it down. Let's use a box, okay? A box rule is going to be establishing a nice boundary and orientation to the wind. How I do that is a lot of times off in the horizon, there might be some trees, you know, just hanging out on the horizon. There might be some boats over here, okay, or channel markers or whatnot, okay? And what that does is gives me orientation, and I'm gonna try to stay within that boundary, and it'll make sense, more sense here in a second. And wind is always going to be square or perpendicular to that box, okay? And when I talk about upwind angle, okay, upwind angle is the maximum angle, let's just say 45 degrees to the wind, the maximum angle of which you can ride upwind. That is number one rule. If you are slightly off that 45 degrees, we're just using 45 as a basic number, okay? If we're off of that, okay, what this is going to relate to, or actually equate to, is a long jump, versus upwind angle is going to be a high jump. You're gonna have a hook into the breeze and you'll get more altitude, right? So a 45-degree angle is the best way to go and get as high as possible. Remember, this angle going lower than 45 is going to result in a very long and low jump, okay? So most people will come and they'll actually ask how to improve this, and we have to simply rework them completely. We slow them down, remember that's number two, and we make sure that they're on the appropriate gear, which is number three. But number one issue for everybody is that upwind angle. You must have maximum upwind angle in order to go higher, okay? All right, so when you break it down, right at this last second, right, is going to be a nice J-hook into the breeze. And how you know that you're accomplishing that is by looking back at your bubbles and starting to orient your direction of travel to your box, which is maybe a sailboat, a marker, a channel marker, somebody off in the distance, an island, a tree, whatever it is, or the beach, okay? And knowing that every time you come back, you should be facing in that direction. Additionally, in most case scenarios, the water has ripples that are perfectly perpendicular to the wind direction, right? In most cases, and we're not talking about rivers or the abnormal situations where the current is kind of shifting in that exact location. Remember that 45-degree angle to that wave pattern, okay? If you're starting to ride inside the trough, you're crosswind and you're gonna get a very low but long jump. Let's see here. We've already gone over that upwind angle. Now we're gonna touch base on the speed. The speed is everything also, right? But if you don't have upwind angle, it doesn't matter anything about the speed, okay? So speed, if you can achieve the most upwind angle possible and you add speed, if you could hold this angle, you are now achieving higher and higher altitudes, right? But at some point, too much speed is going to crush that angle, and what ends up happening, back to the old long, low jump. And when you look back and you're doing 20 mile an hour, let's put some numbers on it. If you're doing 20 miles an hour and you look back and you have the great angle, that perfect angle, and you go a little faster and you start falling off, well, guess what? 20 is perfect, right? Other days it might be 25, it might be lower than that, it might be 15, and it all has to do with this next subject, okay? All right, so super simple. Go as fast as you can with that perfect angle, and then you're gonna achieve the highest altitude possible. We're on number 3 here. Remember, number one is very most important. Number 2 is second most important, right? And then now we have to understand to set expectations in gear. I have some students come out to the beach and they're looking to gain altitude and they're thinking that they have to be in 30, 35 knots. Well, when is that ever gonna happen? Not very often, but the actual technique is actually based off of low winds and slowly building up to higher winds, right? So you can actually do a lot of big air techniques and big air tricks and whatnot on bigger kites like 12s or 15s or whatnot, right? But we have to understand how to do that, right? And set expectations for that day. If it's 20 knots and if you're always kiting in 20 knots on a 12-meter kite and you're an average rider out of 175 pounds or so, you're not going to break records. You're not going to break 30 feet, 35 feet in most cases, okay? Unless you have some random big gust, okay? So setting expectations for the day and what gear to grab, right? And we're not going to get exactly what wind speeds to put these in, all right? But if you're on your 12-meter kite, what I've drawn is a box for the wind. You should know your own equipment if you're on your 12-meter kite and you're trying to break your own personal PR record, right? You need to be in this dotted range, okay? So meaning if this is 10 to 20 mile an hour, you need to be above 15, more towards 18, and gusting to 20 or more, right? So this is the area you need to select the perfect kite to learn how to do big air. Same with like your 10. If your 10's from 20 to 30 mile an hour, you need to be in that 28 mile an hour range. We're just using ballpark figures. You need to understand your own kites. And then going over to the 8, just giving another example, say 30 to 40 mile an hour, you need to be on your 8 in that higher range. The no-go zone, the no fun zone, I like to call it, right, is going to be in that last bit where it's averaging, in this case for that 8, averaging 30, 9, 40 mile an hour. That is a no comfort zone for most people, okay, unless you're pro. Same with the 10. That like 29 to 30 mile an hour, that's no more fun, right? So you want to be in this parameter in between having no fun and then making sure that you're appropriately powered. Somewhere in the middle is perfect, okay? So looking at the 12, 10 to 20 mile an hour, somewhere in that 18 to 20 mile an hour range starts to be the no fun zone, right? And I'm just using basic numbers. For me, a 12 is around 24, gusting 26, no fun zone for me. All right, so as you set those expectations for the gear of choice, right, then you'll start understanding what you're capable of doing for the day and setting realizations that, hey, man, if you only jump 10 or 15 feet today, well, it might not be that you might not have the best technique. It might just be because you've selected the wrong gear. Here we are at the end of this video and we have learned a couple things. Key points being upwind, speed, and setting expectations with the gear you have selected, right? So what we like to say is go upwind, go fast, go big, send it, and truly you'll have that big old happy face for those PR records. Bing, bing, bing. All right, so hopefully you like this video. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll keep them coming. If you have any questions, remember that comment section, get in there, and I'll personally respond to each and every one of them. This is Aaron with Elite Water Sports, and I'll catch you on the water.